Hey everyone, welcome. Thanks for watching. Today we're going to do part 2 of our series in purchasing a used car. Now if you missed the first one, go back and watch that. Mr. Morgan did a phenomenal job of explaining tips and things to look for and doing research so you can make an informed decision before you purchase a used car. That was the first part. Today's going to be the second part. We're actually going to do a walk around of this vehicle and an inspection. And then the third part, we're actually going to take to the road and do a test drive. We have a 2010 Ford Fusion Hybrid. So what I like to do is take the vehicle and split it up into 3 sections. I look at the exterior, I look at the powertrain, and I also look at the interior. So first of all, when we walk up on the vehicle, what I normally look at is the paint. Obviously that's the first thing we notice when you walk up in the vehicle. You may not be able to tell, but if you look at the sheen of the hood versus the roof, there's quite a bit of difference here. So this has probably been painted. So this vehicle at some point was probably wrecked. You can see this spot right here. This is the front bumper cover, and then this would be the right front fender. You can see that the bumper cover is kind of sticking out here. So again, that could be part of the repair, or somebody could have ran into something. So as I push on the front bumper, you can see that kind of pushes out a little bit, indicating that this vehicle might have been in a small accident either after the repair or this was part of the repair itself. As we continue our walk around, I notice we have a scratch right here and then a couple of small scratches here. Okay, so that's one thing you want to look for. The other thing you want to look for is you look at all of these body lines. So where the front door meets the back door, you want to make sure that all those lines are very close as far as even. And those are what we call our gaps. Same thing where the front door meets the front fender and where the rear door meets the rear quarter. Now here we are at the rear of the vehicle. A couple things I did notice. I noticed the eye in the hybrid is missing. Okay, so again, that could have been part of the repair. Also noticed several scratches on the top of the deck lid or the trunk lid here. So that's probably where somebody may have set their items before. I also noted a scratch over here on this corner. And again, it's not that I'm trying to pick this vehicle apart. I just want you to make you aware of some things to look for, because the damage that's on the vehicle should be reflected in the price. Next thing I want to mention is rust. Now, rust is definitely a factor, especially in the area that we live in. I know they treat the roads in this area. So if you are going to purchase a vehicle and you're planning on keeping it a long time, if it already has signs of rust on it, it's going to be a different car next year. One of the common places for rust is in this area right here. This is the bottom of the driver's door, and it could be any of the doors, but it's right where this body seam is, where they've taken the door skin and it's rolled around the bottom of the door. This area right here is going to tend to rust out. And then also, these panels right here are called the rocker panels, and that's another good area where the vehicle could possibly rust out. So again, those areas you definitely want to check. And then another place you want to look for rust is right here in these fender wells. So a lot of times where this fender is actually rolled up inside to the inner fender, this area could rust out as well. But be careful. But what you can do is stick your hand in here and just kind of rub it around there and kind of feel if it feels jagged or rusty. We know that there's a little bit of rust there. And the bad thing about rust, it can be repaired, but if you do not get rid of all the rust, it's going to come back. And most of your body shops, they will do rust repair, but they will not guarantee a rust repair. As we finish up looking at the exterior of the vehicle, obviously you probably want to take a look underneath the vehicle. Again, you're looking for rust, you're looking for leaks, things that maybe don't belong there. And then now we've made it to under the hood. Now under the hood, I know this one's kind of dirty, and that's probably an okay thing. The bad news is if this has all been sprayed off or power washed, sometimes that could conceal a leak. So it's kind of better off to look at the vehicle in this condition. We're just going to take a look at all the fluids and just do kind of a thorough visual inspection of this area. And what I'm looking for is evidence of where maybe fluid was just added. Okay, so obviously this is our radiator coolant overflow. And if they have just added antifreeze or coolant to this, you might see evidence of that. If this vehicle was low on oil, you might actually see evidence of where they have put oil in. So again, those are the things I'm looking for aside from looking at the fluid levels themselves. Now, me myself, when I typically look at a used car, I like to bring a pair of gloves to keep my hands clean, because the next step, we're going to go into the interior, and you definitely don't want to get the steering wheel or any parts of the interior dirty. The next item is the oil cap. Now typically when I look at a used car, from a consumer standpoint, I want to make sure that the engine's cold. Okay, because I want to start this vehicle up cold and listen to what it sounds like, because if there's an engine mechanical problem, a lot of times that's going to show up when the engine is cold. But before I do that, I always like to check the fluids. I also like to take the oil cap off. With the oil cap, you can see that there's just a little bit of oil in here, and what you're looking for is if it looks like a milkshake, or if there's any kind of discoloring as far as the oil has become lighter, that's not a good thing. That could be an indication of a possible head gasket problem. This particular vehicle, this is where the dipstick is, so we're going to pull the dipstick out, and then we're going to take a look at it and see how much oil is on the dipstick. Typically they give you a range. As long as the oil falls in that range, that tells you that you're okay. I also want to look at the oil and make sure that it's not real black. If it is, that's probably a good indication that it needs to be changed. The next fluid we're going to check is the brake fluid level. Now this one's a little bit different as far as the shape of the reservoir on the master cylinder, and actually most manufacturers recommend that you do not take the cap off. That's the reason that this reservoir is clear. You need to be able to look through this clear reservoir, maybe shake the vehicle a little bit or shake the reservoir a little bit to see the level, because brake fluid is what we call hygroscopic, and it actually absorbs moisture out of the air. So that's why the manufacturers do not recommend you taking the cap off to check this. All right, the next step, we're going to go to the interior. So several things I always like to take a look at: how clean the steering wheel is, looking at the carpet to see if there's any stains. You might also stick your head in here and kind of smell to see if there are any smells or odors that you may not like. And as I start the vehicle up for the first time, again, hopefully this vehicle is cold, I want to start it up and I want to listen for any noises that I may hear coming from under the hood. And if you have somebody available, it may be a good idea to have them start the vehicle. That way you can be under the hood and listen. Now, as I look at the dash, I'm looking for several things. I'm looking for the engine temperature. I'm looking for the charge level. I'm also looking for any malfunction indicator lamps. A check engine light, or a service vehicle soon light, or possibly a tire pressure monitor. Any of the lights that could come on in the dash that would indicate a malfunction. Also, while I'm doing that, I'm listening to hear what the engine sounds like. And I'll go ahead and put this vehicle in gear and hold my foot on the brake. And again, I'm just listening to see if I hear any sounds that sound abnormal. We've walked around the vehicle. We've taken a look at the paint. We've looked at the body lines. We've looked at several aspects of the vehicle as far as its physical appearance. And then we moved to under the hood, checking fluids and looking for anything that's obvious. We started the engine, listening for anything that may sound abnormal. We went inside the vehicle. We looked for check engine lights, service engine soon lights. And again, it's not that we're trying to deter you from buying the vehicle. If there's anything wrong with the vehicle, we just want to make sure that you're aware of that, every aspect of the vehicle, to make sure that in the future that you're not going to incur any large repair costs, and you're happy and you understand what you're getting when you purchase the vehicle. If you can, have a qualified technician look at the vehicle before you purchase it. That would definitely be a good idea. This has been part 2 of our used vehicle purchase, where we've walked around the vehicle, actually done the inspection, and then yet to come is part 3. We're actually going to take a test drive.